let's just say you're my father, right?
Yeah.
If this didn't work, how's this going to work? This is
Mm.
just going to seem like a lot of rules and regulations that I don't want to follow.
Yeah.
I won't even learn how important this is until I get here and I have my own kids.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to be like, oh no, I understand now.
Yeah.
But if this works well, I understand how this works, and this becomes very easy.
Yep.
All of it.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Faith Ignite podcast, and we're so excited you decided to spend a part of your day with us to be able to have your faith built up, to have your faith encouraged. Hey, if you're new here, I would ask you to do a few things. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell on so you are aware when new episodes are released. Hey, and if you want to take your faith just one step further, you can follow the link below, and you can go to our website and help partner with this ministry to help us take these stories of faith around the world to the people that need them. And then lastly, hey, if you have something that's going on in your life, we would love to know about it. Write us, send us an email, connect with us on social media. We would love to know what God's doing in your life. And so go ahead and reach out to us so we can celebrate with you in that. And so today we have a really cool guest with us today. He's a family man. He's a community leader. He's passionate about fatherhood. He's passionate about development and leadership. Born and raised here in Tulsa, was raised in a single family home, took a trip to federal prison for a little bit, and then he came back out a changed man, and he wanted to change the world that he lived in. And so I'll let him go into detail as to how those trips took place. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our guest, Mr. Marquess Dennis.
Yeah.
Man, thank you so much for being on the podcast with us, man.
Listen, I'm honored that I got asked to be here.
Of course, awesome, man. And so one way I like to start every podcast off, just so we get acquainted. Who is Marquess?
Well, Marquess is husband, father of 5, learning to accept my role as a son of the Father. I learned from one of my mentors that there's 3 cycles that people run in. There's the slave, which is not trying to do a lot of work, so you're trying to stay away from the master, trying to get away, do the thing, get it done, move on. Then there's the servant. And the servant's see me doing the work. You see me? Can I have some crumbs? Maybe you might, give me a pat on the back. I may be able to, find some favor with the master. And then you have a son. And the son says, oh, what a great day to be in my father's house.
Mm.
And I struggle with going back and forth from servant to slave, with performance-based reality, with trying to adapt to the idea that I didn't have my father growing up. We have a relationship now, but not having him growing up, hearing those words, what a great day to be in my father's house, was a knife that was being stabbed very deeply and turning every time.
Mm.
So, yeah.
So, well, let's just go there. So what was it like growing up without that father? Because I've known, and I've there's obviously science back this stuff, but when you grow up without a father, there's part of you that's you don't know part of yourself. You don't understand who you fully are because part of you is missing. So what was that like for you growing up without a father?
Well, I mean, the statistics are true. So without your father, you are 4 times more likely to live in poverty, 7 times more likely to be a teen pregnant. You have, 2 times more likely to be infant mortality death. When we start to get into some of the other statistics, you're looking at, more likely to go to prison. You're like, this is all scripted to understand, like, without the father, you are going to have an identity crisis. It's not a maybe, it's definitely going to happen. And then mix that with the generation I grew up in, which was the 90s. I was born in the 80s, but the 90s was really when I started to come of age. And so a lot of people don't realize this, but Homer Simpson and Al Bundy were introduced in the same year, 1991. And so the idiot box, which is what we call the TV, started to program us, those of us. And then gangster rap was also introduced in or around that same time. Because if you look at rap music before in the 80s, it was all positive. It was all talking about the experience of the ghetto, but it was promoting free thinking, being able to learn, get education, get out. So when you're a man more specifically, growing up without a father, you are trying to adapt all of your manhood qualities from the idiot box or from where you are, wherever you are. You're trying to say, okay, well, that's the guy that I want to be like because he has the cash or he has the women or he has the notoriety or he has the scholarship or he has the favor of the teachers or whatever the case may be. So depending on what your environment produces will determine the man that you get to become. So growing up without a father, I of course adapted to who was around me. I grew up in a heavily drug related area. And so the people that I seen that were able to get the notoriety, to matter, to, have the respect and all the things that you want. And it's funny, I'll tell you about respect later. But when you get into that journey, you just don't know. And so that identity crisis, what ends up happening is you don't know which parts of you are you're supposed to adapt from others, which parts are you supposed to hold on to, which parts do you not hold on to.
Yeah.
And, my mom is one of those that prided themselves. I never talk negatively about your dad, ever, right? But then I realized 2 years ago, I said, well, you never did. But guess what? Every time I did something wrong, guess whose kid I was? Every time that I got on your nerves, guess whose kid I was?
Yeah.
Guess who I reminded you of? Guess who I just acted just like? But when I did something great, when I got an award, when I was on my best behavior, oh, my son, I love you.
Yeah.
So that's what ingrained that performance-based anxiety that I suffer from still to this day.
So growing up without your father, and we kind of talked offline about this. So that landed you in prison.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of talk to me about what was the process? How'd you end up getting there? And then what was the process of you getting out and then being able to transform your life through Christ?
So how I got to prison was, the statistics show that if you can't read by the age of 3, you're guaranteed to go to prison. And so the reason is because there's only 3 institutions in America. There's prison, college, armed forces. You will go to one of them, if not 2. So the uneducated, the broke, they go to, the army or prison, the educated, so on and so forth. And so they all work the same to be able to help you to assimilate to once you come out here, but into the real world. So how I got to prison was I was a young kid, never really got in trouble. I did. I got kicked out of school and all that kind of stuff, but not committing crimes and creating a record for myself because I feared my mom more than I did the police.
Yeah.
And so I got into a situation to where I was now 2 children deep, outside of wedlock, trying to live my best life through the ways that I've been shown, which is the most girls that you can procreate with, the better. You somehow move up in this chain of nonsense. And so I did. And, because no one taught me about safe sex, nobody had those talks with me. I learned them from TV, from pornography, which were magazines at the time. We didn't even have the video. It was just, this is what we adapted from those that are around. And so I got behind on life. My money was funny. And so I had to figure out a way to get out of that situation. The path to me starting was I went to go write a check. I knew it was going to be a hot check out of my account because I was broke. And I went to go write a check, and the lady says, "Mr. Dennis, you're already $287 negative." And it was like a movie. My head just started spinning in circles. And I was on the phone with this young lady at the time, and she was like, I hung up on her because I just couldn't, So she calls back 2 minutes later. I'm still standing there at the counter, freaking out. What am I going to do? I can't pay my rent. I've been in an accident. I can't work. I was a welder at the time. And so she calls back and was like, "Hey, I know you don't sell drugs, but, I know a guy that's, going to say he'll willing to give it to you at this price for, just based on my name." And I was like, "That amount?" I was like, "I can get it cheaper than, let me call you back." Click. Made a phone call.
Wow.
And then the games begin. And so I decided that I was going to sell weed only because I grew up in the height of the crack epidemic. I seen what that did to other kids' parents. I seen what it did to my family, and I just would refused to be involved in that.
Yeah.
And so with weed, I was like, you overdose on weed, you pass out.
Yeah.
And so that was my justification.
Okay.
And I also believe that if I didn't participate, I shouldn't be allowing other people to participate. And so I had all these, kind of rules that I created in my head to try to do this thing without, any casualties, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so, so that I was doing that for a while, ended up meeting a girl, watching Breaking Bad one day, and in the middle of the movie, they pop open this storage shed, and there's just this pallet of money just in there. And she was like, how much more money do we need to make? And I was like, so you sure you don't know anybody in Mexico? And so, so I had already been working at that time when I talked to her for about 7 or 8 years, selling weed. And so I just was now to the point where it's like, I need a constant supply.
Yeah.
And so, through that process, she ended up calling a bunch of people without my knowledge. I thought she knew somebody, but she tried 23 people, and I only know because when we got arrested, the guy said, she called 23 people, and 3 of which they are already federally watching. So ta-da!
Got it. Okay. So getting arrested, going to prison. So now you're having this thing like, wow, my life seems to be changed. So when did faith become real to you?
Faith became real to me. I mean, I've always grown up in church. So it didn't, the first time it became real was in high school. I went to this church called 180, and I was watching these discipleship tapes, and that was when it first became real. But then, the normal thing happens. People hurt you through a process of, trying to live a life that, is not real. It's not real, which is why I live out loud now, because I would hate for somebody else to stumble thinking that I live some perfect, well put together life when I'm just as human as the next person. So through that church hurt was what caused me to really fall off. And then when, right before I got busted, like God had just been tugging at my heart heavy. And I just tried to ignore it. But even my girlfriend and I, we had started going to church, and I just was like, something. And so when I got arrested, when I went to go pick up from the cartel, and helicopters in the sky, like firemen, police, like we got busted, something awful. And so when we did, I just looked up at the sky and said, all right, God, I hear you. And I let it go after that. And so, that was when the journey became real. Yeah. And so
like now, so this is at the point now where you're kind of walking through the timeline of now out of prison. So now that you're out of prison now, what does life look like for you now at this point? Now that you have this realization that God's trying to get your attention, and He finally got your attention.
Oh yeah.
And then now you're out of prison now, and so what does life look like for you at that point?
When I get out?
Yeah.
When you get out, it's just like getting out of the military. You have to debrief. Somebody has to reacclimate you back to real life. When you're in prison, you go through a stage where you go from an inmate to a convict. And once you do that maturation process, it's hard to just switch back. It's the same for, PTSD is real for soldiers, no different than they are for people coming out of prison. The circumstances at which you live your life are very different inside.
Yeah.
So when I came out, luckily I had a support system. And this is where the recidivism gets so high for most people is, they were the guy on top. They were the guy that everybody relied on. And so when they came back out, they came back to nothing. Luckily, I came back to a loving mom, and her husband let me stay there for free while I worked. When I had connections of people that were actually waiting on me to get out, so that way they could implement these sales processes and hire me to do all of this growth for their businesses. And so I was like, okay, let's go. So when I got out, I made $10 an hour. I couldn't even afford the gas for the vehicle my mom gave me.
Wow.
Because $10 an hour was, I think it was like $130 something dollars a week
Oh, wait. Okay. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something like that, after taxes, after child support.
Yeah.
It was just like it's unlivable.
Yeah.
And so this is what causes most people to recidivize. It's like, you put me in a position to where I cannot make it.
Yeah.
And so because I'm a felon now, it doesn't, and so yeah.
Dang. Okay. So now that you have figured all this out, now you're back on your feet, you're working and stuff. You're now at a point where, and we talked offline about this, but you're now trying to find or get to a point where you're now helping other young men
Mm-hmm.
you're now helping other young men not do the same thing you did.
I'm helping other men,
Yes.
not young men.
You're helping other men
Correct.
not do the same thing you did.
Correct.
So talk to me about how that all came about and kind of what is it that you guys do?
So when I was in prison, I asked the question that everyone always asks: God, why am I here?
Why me?
Why? And of course, you have that conversation of, you could have just told me, and I would have.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And so, it's. I asked, well, why am I here? Because he said, you're here for a purpose. I said, well, what is it? He said, when else are you going to have 1,500 other men to interview? So I was like, okay. So I just started interviewing dudes. And so I asked this question, and I used to start every podcast with the question of, tell me, what's your favorite part about being your father's son? And so based on how they responded to that question, over time I was able to figure out why they got arrested to begin with, even without asking, just based on the relationship with their father or lack thereof.
Yeah.
So when I was doing that, I started a business plan. I started, God gave me a vision for what this was supposed to do, what it was supposed to be. It's really hard to explain. I was talking to some of my mentors last night, really hurt my feelings because they don't hold anything back. But he said this thing to me that really shook me to the core, and I now can explain better. And you as a believer will get it a little bit better than the average person. So when you ask me what I do, I'm building an ark, and it's going to rain someday. I know you've never seen it before or ever heard of it, but it's gonna. I'm building this thing because he told me to. I don't understand it. I don't know why, but it's just what I have to do. Now, what it is that I'm building is we have a community of fathers that come together to be able to learn best practices and to have a community of things to be able to help fathers know that they're seen, heard, and valuable, but also responsible. And what does that look like? We're 4 generations into fatherless homes. To give you an example of what that means, before welfare became a thing, the white family was a 7%, like 7% fatherless rate. That means father's not in the home, not engaged, right? Now we're at 48%. When we look at the black family, it was 25% at a fatherless rate. Now we're at a 73%.
Wow.
So when you look at the numbers, there's a reason that God said orphans, widows, and fatherless. He never said single mothers. He never said do all these things for women only. Yeah. And that's what we do as a church. Unfortunately, the church has surrounded themselves by figuring out how to make as many things for women and children as possible. I get the concept, but it goes against the very structure of what he created. If you look at the data, it shows that if a father is saved, there's a 93% chance the entire household is saved. If the wife or the woman is only 17%. And if it's the child, it's only a 3.4%. So why do all of our resources go to those things, except for the enemy works in opposites? So if God says, make sure that the mans are okay, so that he can make sure the wife is okay, the wife then makes sure the kids are okay, grandparents then make sure they're all okay, the father watches, our godly father watches over all of us. We are the bridegroom for Jesus, right?
Yeah.
So husbands have to submit, aka be the wife first.
Yeah.
In order for we can present ourselves pure and our family pure. We are the pastors of our own home. We're the priest of our own home. So what happens when there's no priest?
Things get crazy.
And that's the idea that we promote. It's unfortunate because when I talk to pastors, I say, hey, I don't presume that I have the perfect example, but if I go based on what God designed, this is what it would look like. Yeah. We say, hey, family in need, fantastic. Single mother in need, hey, I can't help you as much as I would have because you don't have a full family. Now, widow is different. Widow is not a single mother.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Yep.
They categorize them the same, but it's not even close.
Yeah.
But if you're taking a single mother versus a family, if you say, hey, family, we can help you as a church, whatever your local situation or your local situation is for a church. If you say, okay, all the men that own a business, stand. All right, Dad, tomorrow morning, you need to find one of these places to go volunteer at. We're going to help your family, but you're going somewhere tomorrow morning. Whoa, wait, Mom, you too. You're coming back to the church. We need some things done around here. And your kids will be taken care of. We'll make sure that you guys are in a good place as the church.
Yeah.
But you're going to work because that's what the Bible commands of us.
Yes.
Don't work, don't eat.
Exactly.
So giving all this free food away and all that, that's not the design. That's toxic charity because it doesn't get people out of what they're doing. And so the reason why prison sucks is so you don't come back. The more comfortable you make sin, so to speak, or these kinds of things, the more likely you're going to repeat it. And so these are the things that we're trying to do. So we're pulling that cavity by saying, hey, men, I can't talk to the women. I can't talk to the children. It's not their fault. It's your responsibility to be at home.
Yeah.
How do I know? Because I was a guy that abdicated my responsibility thinking someone else was going to come and save me. I was taught by the TV to be a professional victim and hope that somebody was going to save me someday. I can't tell you how many times I've wished upon the $10 million of sweepstakes money that was supposed to be coming because we prayed for it. And inevitably it never happened. So what did that teach me? It taught me that prayer didn't work. It taught me that it wasn't for me. Success and greatness wasn't for me. And it taught me that as long as I'm making someone else rich, it's okay. Well, that's not a son, is it?
Nope.
And that's the mentality that we, as the community, as the church, this is what we procreate on accident. Because when we're doing it the right way, again, I'm not saying is this is going to be a perfect situation.
Right.
But if you look at it the way that God created the situation to be, it's like bowling. It's like bowling with bumpers, right? Yeah. It doesn't guarantee you a strike, but what it does is it cuts down on a lot of gutter time.
Yep. And
it keeps your hope alive. If you take a kid bowling, I got a 4-year-old that bowls like crazy, but there's never been a time that he's thrown it down there. It's not bumping. Yeah. He may knock down 4 pins. He may still spare. He may still gutter. But he's like, oh, and we can say almost got it.
Yeah.
But when you drop those bumpers for a 4-year-old, how long do you think he's going to want to bowl?
Not long.
And this is what is happening to our community. We have dropped the bumpers. The church is not active as it should be because we're preaching for people to come back, not for people to have change. In order for things that God created to work, it operates this way. Every child deserves 4 grandparents, 2 parents, brothers, sisters, uncles, cousins, and neighbors. That is what we call a village, okay? Village comes connected with a community. Community being small businesses, churches, and school districts.
Yep.
Now, the reason why we say churches is because before nonprofits became so profitable, churches did all that work, whether it was hospitals, blood banks, tutors, all of that, right? Yeah. Now we farm all of that out. They're money-generating revenue streams. They're all things that happen without the one key point, without Christ. Now, what I'm doing, it's not a Christian organization. when I prayed and asked God, I said, well, why? He said, it's not a Christian problem. The issue is that if you take anybody, whether they're agnostic, Muslim, Jewish, whatever the case may be, when the pressure is on, where do they go? God help me.
Yep.
So if I help a man understand that he's seen, heard, and valuable, but also responsible, well, he has nowhere else to go but to God.
Yeah.
But see, the lack of having fathers involved, let's just say you're my father, right?
Yeah.
If this didn't work, how's this going to work? This is just going to seem like a lot of rules and regulations that I don't want to follow.
Yeah.
I won't even learn how important this is until I get here and I have my own kids.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to be like, oh no, I understand now.
Yeah.
But if this works well, I understand how this works, and this becomes very easy.
Yep.
All of it. But imagine, you seem like a smart guy, seem like a business owner, right? What business do you know runs well without its CEO?
None.
Or what about if the CFO is gone? Or wait, better yet, what if you put both of those jobs on one person?
Yeah.
Are you working in the business or on the business, right?
Yeah.
And if you're working in the business, who's working on the business? That means that you're leaving the children or the people you serve to run your business. That is going to cause utter destruction. This is how we are operating. And it says in Malachi 4:6, I will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the children to the fathers, lest I strike this land with
a curse
of utter destruction. So there's no wonder how we got here. We know the formula. Just like they know that if you can't read by the third grade, because up to the third grade you read to learn.
Yeah.
From the third grade on, you learn to read up to 3, then you read to learn from then on. If you can't read, then you cannot learn past that point.
Yeah.
And if you cannot learn past that point, what is your options?
Yeah.
Unless you have manual labor, you're going to commit crime. So they start building prisons based on that third grade reading test. They build prisons today for the people that are in third grade now. It's that guaranteed.
Wow. Man.
I know I said a lot. Fire hose. It's a whole thing.
You did. But it's so interesting, like you talked about, and I've grown up in the Bahamas. That's something that I have seen a lot of. It is prevalent that you do not have fathers in the homes.
Oh, man.
And then you have these guys just running around having a bunch of kids, but there's no one that's going to take the responsibility of it. And I've heard it put this way: when the father is not in the home, the family as an organization or as an entity has to naturally produce someone to fill that role.
Correct.
Whether that's the mom or whether that's the oldest son, he now has to step up to that plate.
The mom cannot do it.
No, the mom can't. You can't. A woman can't raise a son to the level they're supposed to.
No, a mom can never, ever, ever be a dad.
Yeah.
This is something that we have to change our language on. There is no possible way, because what you just said, if we dissect what you just said, we just as Christians say transgenderism is normal. That's what we need, right? That would be the prescription, is that women can be men.
Yeah.
It's not possible. If God designed it for that way, the reason that culture is doing that, and I only know this because one of my youngsters is running for parliament over there in the Bahamas, so he tells me about this.
Okay.
He suffers from the same problem. He knew his dad, but he didn't really know his dad. And like you said, the older brother had to become that man version. But this is what you don't understand about how dangerous that is. Fear of intimacy is caused by a child becoming an adult, raising their spouse or their siblings too early. When you put the responsibility of an adult on a child, it creates fear of intimacy for them. So now that brother is going to be destroyed forever because he will not be able to be intimate, emotionally vulnerable for his wife, for his children. He's going to have this fear always. And I only know that because me and my wife had to look it up. because we were having intimacy issues, not sex problems, but intimacy, like being able to connect outside of just regular to-do lists and cleanings. And it was like I couldn't see her heart, she couldn't see mine. So we looked it up and we said, what is fear of intimacy? Why? How do we get to here?
Yeah.
And sure enough, it was the first response was, if you have to take care of your siblings, and she had to raise her kids or her sisters, the younger ones that were younger than her,
Yeah.
she had to raise them. Mom was very irresponsible. I didn't have that issue. I was trying to, like I said, fill this God-sized hole with as many women as possible.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I didn't feel fulfilled doing it. When my friends high-fived me, that was my excitement from it. But that's what we run into in maybe Bahamian culture. Again, I'm not Bahamian, so I don't know, but I can only imagine. The slaveristic ideal was, hey, how do we breed all these men? How do we make these men? In some cultures, there's not enough men. So they have no choice but to procreate with as many people as possible. But no one is teaching them responsibility for those procreations. In some cultures, they do. Yeah. But maybe in this situation, it wasn't. No. And that is a default, which will cause all these women to then be hurt. When you do the comparison of single mother versus single father almost gets equal responses of two-parent household. Almost identical. Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Want to know why?
Yeah.
You got to ask me why.
Okay, why?
Okay, listen. So the reason is because if you take a single father versus a single mother, a single father is an 85% chance he's going to allow mom to co-parent. Because dads inherently understand, I can't be your mother. You need to know her, whether it's toxic or not.
Yeah.
If the mother is the single parent, what do you think it is? What do you think that?
Maybe 20%?
Maybe 20% that she's going to allow you to co-parent?
Yeah.
5.
Wow.
5% chance. That's how they built an empire on the backs of single mothers. They built prisons. They've built schools. They've built colleges and worthless degrees where they've convinced a whole subsect of women that a college degree will make you somehow matter more. You should never be raising children and washing dishes and taking care of home. You should be in the workforce. So now we got double taxation. Nobody's taking care of the kids. And as my good friend Vodi Bakum says, is it a wonder that we send our children to Caesar and wonder why they come back Romans? It's what Charlie Kirk just got killed for. He just went out. He went to Caesar's palace and said, hey, I don't know if you know this, but you're being indoctrinated. He got killed for it.
Wow. So for that person that's listening to this podcast, maybe this is some young man that's doing what you were doing when you were younger. Nobody told him. Or maybe they're not even there. Maybe it's some other person that is just trying to figure out life on their own. They didn't have a father, but they're trying to figure out, like, I have one chance and I can't blow this. What would you tell that person? Or what would you tell your younger self? What advice would you give them?
I would say understand that there's 3 levels. Or imagine a cross, if you will. Every person should be reaching up to the generation that came before. Whether you had your own grandparents or not, pick some. And understand it's going to suck. They're not going to be able to solve all your whimsical problems. There's going to be issues. Those people that have issues, that's great. Yeah. But find you a business mentor, find you a family mentor, find you a spiritual mentor, find you a physical mentor, find you somebody that is into what you're into. So if it's arts or whatever, like find somebody in that space that's older than you. Then reach out. This is the people that are in your generation, in your subsect, your age group. Make friends well-friended man is 10 close friends. Do you know 25 years ago, that was normal to have 15 close friends. Now you can't even find 10 men. Oh, sorry about that.
No, you're good.
10 men with one close friend. So when we talk about loneliness as an epidemic, it's a real issue. And then pouring out. The one thing that's really cool about working at places like the Dream Center and other places is, corporations and churches meet at one place, and that's volunteering. And so there's no difference between giving as a corporation or as a church. There's no difference. The only thing that should be different is the Christ that you have in you that you're sharing. So you should be pouring out either to the young generation, your neighbors, finding someone to mentor. There's plenty of organizations that will allow you to do that. Even if you don't have money, you have time. Even if you don't have time, you have a talent, a skill. Give something, because giving and being able to pour out to the generation that comes after you will always keep you young. It will keep you fresh, and it will keep you relevant.
Yeah.
Reaching up to those that came before you will keep you understanding the perspective of life. And having friends on your level will always help you to just be able to see how important it is to have those other two.
Yeah. Wow. Marquess Dennis, ladies and gentlemen. Man, thank you so much for coming by and just sharing some, honestly, first off, very interesting stats that I did not know.
Yeah.
But also just giving insight into the importance and the things that you've seen in your line of work, the importance of having fathers around, the importance of teaching them what it's like to be responsible and the consequences of them not being there. So, man, thank you so much for sharing that with us, man.
Absolutely. Anytime. This is my pleasure to be able to share.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to sign off for today's episode. But like I said in the beginning, hey, if this conversation and as well as the other ones has helped you and shaped you and motivated you, encouraged you, ignited your faith, hey, I would ask that you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell on so you are aware when new episodes are released. And then also, if you want to become a financial partner of this ministry, you can follow the link below. It'll take you to our website, and you can become a financial partner there so we can take these stories of faith around the world to the people that need them. And then lastly, hey, like I said, if God's doing something in your life, we would love to know about it. If this story resonates with you and you have a story that fits within this mold, hey, let us know. We would love to celebrate what God's doing, or maybe even point you in the right direction where you have resources that can be able to help you. And so we would love to connect with you, so you can reach out to us and let us know how we can help. And so like I said in the beginning, we're going to have to sign off for now. But until next time, this has been Faith Ignite. We'll see you guys next time.